Hey everybody, it's Julie. Welcome back to Row & Co Farms. Today we are going to be taking care of preserving some of our harvest. Over the last few days I have been collecting lots and lots of tomatoes from the garden. We have lots of varieties and I've been letting them ripen up on the counter for a couple of days, and now they're ready to do a little preserving with. I also have a big batch of cucumbers that I need to deal with, and I also got some eggs, and we're just gonna be storing those away in the fridge. So let's take a look at all the tomatoes that I have. Oh my goodness, look at these guys. I have Romas, also have some Rutgers and a couple of heirloom varieties. What I'm gonna be doing with these is I'm gonna be freezing them and just holding on to all of the frozen tomatoes until the season is over, and then I'll be doing a really large batch of canning at one time. I find this to be a lot better use of my time rather than doing a bunch of little mini batches of things over the whole summer. It just doesn't work out very well for me like that. So what I'd like to do is we're gonna come in, wash all these, we're gonna cut off the cores, kind of squeeze out a little bit of the seed, and then we're going to throw it into a freezer bag, and we're going to keep those for a few months until it gets cooler and we have some time to spend on doing some canning. So come along with me today and let's do it. Yes, I know this is a feed scoop, but if you live on a farm, you know that you'll use anything to scoop up eggs when you're out there, because you never take your basket. You just put them in your shirt or whatever bucket you have on hand. So I've got some freezer bags ready. I'm gonna go ahead and write on the outside of them. I am gonna separate the different types of tomatoes, like the cherry tomatoes, the paste tomatoes, and then just the slicer tomatoes. That way, when I go to make my different canning things later, I'll know kind of what's what. So. So I'm going to start with the Roma tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and get my bags kind of set up here, because I like to just get one, cut the top off, and throw it straight into the bag. So got a little bucket here where I'm going to save these guys for the tops for my chickens and my ducks. I'm simply just cutting off a small little bit at the top, making sure it's washed off, and then throw it in the bag. So once these are frozen and I take them out later, the skin is going to slip off of it really easily, so all I'll be left with is the center part. With the Roma tomatoes, they don't have a lot of juice and seeds, and so that's why you use those for sauces, because you don't have to cook them out as long. So that's why I'm not squeezing out a bunch of seeds in here. So when I do the slicer tomatoes, or just the regular tomatoes, what I do is I cut out a nice little chunk of the core like this to expose those little inner chambers with all the seeds in it. And I give it a little squeeze to release all those seeds. You don't have to get every one of them, but it gets the majority of those out, and that's going to really help when you go to do all of your cooking down of your tomatoes or cutting. It gets rid of all that excess juice and stuff that you have in there. So that's a little tip. So I have a nice big batch of cherry tomatoes, and I think what I'm going to do with those is just slice them in half and then put them on my dehydrator trays and dehydrate these. That's a good way to save my cherry tomatoes, I think. So I ended up with 4 bags, about 3.5 bags of tomatoes today. I have the slicer tomatoes, 2 bags of those, and then the 1.5 bags of the paste tomatoes. But I also do still have all of these tomatoes left, which I determined still need a couple of days to ripen up before I freeze those. Then I also kept a few for eating, and then I still have to do the cucumbers as well. So now I need to deal with these pickles. Excuse me, they're not pickles, they're cucumbers. I see them, I just see pickles. So we're gonna take these, slice them up, and I'm going to make quick pickles that just need to be refrigerated. This is my favorite method because we eat a lot of pickles and we can usually eat them up before they go bad. So quick pickles can stay in the fridge for 6 months or something like that, so we got time. So we're gonna make some quick pickles with all of our cucumbers that we have right now. I'm gonna give them a quick wash, then we're gonna slice them up, and we'll get our brine ready for our pickles. So in our pickles today, we're going to be using these ingredients here. I like to use 2 different kinds of vinegar, the white and the apple cider. I used crushed red pepper, salt, dill, peppercorns, celery seeds, mustard seeds, garlic cloves, and I have dill that's in various stages of development. So I have some dill seed and then just some dill top, and they all have the same kind of flavor, so I'm okay to add that in how I see fit there. My garlic, I'm actually only going to be using 1 clove per jar because these are really, really big cloves. Normally I'd probably put 3 or 4 cloves in, but since these are so large, I think these will be okay. All right, let's get our jars prepared and then let's heat up our brine. We'll start with a teaspoon of mustard seeds into each jar. Do about a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. half a teaspoon of peppercorns, doing a tiny amount of celery seed. I'm using my half teaspoon, but I'm not putting in a half teaspoon, just a little. And then we're going to use a whole teaspoon, nice heaping teaspoon of dill, dried dill in each one. Gonna add a piece of garlic into each of the bottoms of these, and then we'll add some more as we start to fill in. So I'm gonna start to add in my cucumbers. Just mixing up our vinegar brine solution, which is 2 parts vinegar and 2 parts water, and then I add also salt and sugar to that. The salt and sugar is just your preference, what you like, as well as the other spices too, but I use 1 tablespoon of sugar per jar and 1 teaspoon of salt per jar. And that's just what I've been using. So once this gets heated up and is boiling and is all the salt and sugar have dissolved, then we will pour this brine over our pickles. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching the way that we harvest and preserve our tomatoes and pickles. And you join us again next time here at Row & Co Farms.